Lies of P is a good one. It got me. Totally. Some context, I had put this, if you've been watching this channel, I put it on a couple of lists, like my most anticipated of the year lists. But I was still skeptical. Like, the style looked really cool, but it was from a South Korean studio I didn't know too much about. And I feel like I bought into the dream of like Souls-like style games from other developers that have their own cool thing on it, but never totally live up to it. A few have, for me personally, like The Surge and stuff like that. But with Lies of P, I didn't really know. But thankfully, after playing it, I'm very happy. I feel like they totally nailed it. And I know that they nailed it even more so, specifically because I went into this game burnt out. If you guys have been watching me for a long time, you know that like I can understand and appreciate and work through Souls-like style games, like, you know, the From Software inspired subgenre. But sometimes I'm like, I don't need a game to be this incredible epic challenge that takes all of my time. Especially after Elden Ring, I looked at Lies of P and I was like, here we go. But as I said in the Before You Buy, man, it's kind of refreshing that this is just like a traditionally styled one. It's structured, it's not open world. You're playing through levels, you're farming souls, you're fighting bosses. I really dig that. But it did the thing I was hoping. Like, other Souls-inspired games never always totally end up doing it, but this one really did, where I looked at this and I was like, it's gonna be hard. I'm gonna get frustrated. I suck at these games as much as I appreciate them. But maybe the aesthetic, the creature designs, all that stuff, the atmosphere will be enough for me to push through and really persevere, because I want to see more of it. I want to see what else they made. And thankfully, Lies of P totally did that. I went in for the aesthetic alone.
You've played Lies of P, you've beaten Lies of P. I have played many hours of it. What are your thoughts on Lies of P, a FromSoft style game, a Souls-like game, from a South Korean developer?
Round 8.
Round 8. It's been in development for about 4 years now. We can finally freaking talk about it after a lot of demos that have been released. Blessy, what are your thoughts?
I really love this game. On the Kind of Funny scale, I'm giving it a 5 out of 5, which is the highest score we can give. The best compliment I can give this game, it starts from where you were just talking about just now, right? The fact that this is a game that is taking a lot of inspiration from Souls-like games, from software titles, namely the big one being Bloodborne. You hop into this game and you blur your eyes a little bit and you're like, oh, I'm playing Bloodborne right now. This feels like a game that is taking so much out of that. But at the same time, once you get further into it and once you get your hands on the controller, you start to notice and feel a lot of other influences as well, right? Like, it feels almost more like a greatest hits of From Software titles as opposed to just a Bloodborne clone. And that was my biggest fear, is that I was going to start playing this game and with every turn go, okay, this is cool, but it's not as good as Bloodborne. That's what I thought I was going to be saying throughout my time playing this game. There are parts where I do have that feeling, but for the most part, right, it is sort of the, I guess, vibe and tone of Bloodborne mixed with more of like the parry-based combat of a Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, mixed with some of the mechanics I imagine you get out of a Dark Souls or an Elden Ring when I talk about the amulet system. There's like a lot of different stuff in here, and then a lot of originality as well, because one of the things that this game does that is unique is its weapon assembly system, where most weapons have a handle and a blade part, and you can mix and match different handles and blades from different weapons to essentially create your own weapons that feel in control the way you want them to feel. That is very novel. That is really unique. And that system, I'd say, is like one of the shining takeaway features from this game that I hope other people look at and go, how do we get more creative with our weapon systems?
We had them on our Gamescom live show last year. It was like the biggest game of our show, but also there wasn't a lot of people at Gamescom last year. We're in a lot of studios, and so just by the nature of being there, they were the biggest one, and we were all kind of like are they the biggest game here because like no one else showed up, or is this a legitimately cool game? And we couldn't really get a read on it. It looked awesome. It looked like it played awesome, but we couldn't really tell.
I mean, it first showed up on Twitter, like it was clips of gameplay, which I feel like is so completely antithetical to like how AAA stuff is usually rolled out. And this is a South Korean studio. I forget what
NeoWiz. Yeah.
Which I've never heard of. I didn't even know what game.
I mean,
games they'd worked
we're
on.
seeing a lot more games coming out of South Korea lately, and it's awesome that, you know, they're clearly doing their homework over there. But like, again, unknown quantity. Like, we don't have any track record for the studio. We don't know what it's going for. It's very possible for a studio to cobble together a cool chunk of demo gameplay, pop it on Twitter, have it blow up, and then, you know, have that game disappear entirely.
Totally.
Or make a game that just isn't very good. And I think that there's a fair amount of skepticism that kind of came with this game because it is an unproven studio.
Yep.
Tackling a a historically difficult genre, but also difficult to get right.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly it right there. And I feel like this is like the closest we've gotten to like kind of like a Bloodborne 1.5 or a Bloodborne 2. It doesn't hit the same highs in terms of like horror for me. The gothic horror specifically is a thing that has always attracted me to Bloodborne, but it gets enough right in almost every other category that I just feel like the actual feel of this game is fantastic. Like running around this world, getting into fights and scrambles and upgrading your weapons and your sidearm and stuff like that just feels awesome.
I think the game is incredibly gorgeous. It's running on Unreal Engine 4. It reminds me a lot of what we saw with something like Callisto Protocol, where we're seeing the last remnants of what an Unreal Engine 4 game looks like. We're seeing it kind of at max full potential. I think the lighting in this game is gorgeous. Animations are awesome. There's a lot of cast shadows. I'm playing on PC, and let's just a round of applause, everybody. Kevin, I know you're over there listening. Round of applause. This game runs well on PC.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's go.
It is like, it shouldn't be surprising, but it is in this day and age. I'm not sure how performance is on console, but on PC, I am maxing out at, of course I have a very, very beefy machine, but that doesn't always matter with a lot of new releases.
I will say on console, right, in 40 hours and 30 minutes, not one crash.
I want to say too, like this game is really good looking. Like it's gorgeous. I'm just everything about this game was just such a delightful surprise for me. I haven't clicked with a game like this so kind of instantly and immediately, and I felt like the more I put into it, the more it gave back. And like it's weird. There's another big game that came out recently where it had a lot of debates about being over encumbered and how much do you weigh and all that kind of stuff. And like, I kind of bounced off that one pretty quickly, but this one I just felt I kept coming back to it. I just felt like I don't know.
You like the Bloodborne?
Yeah, I mean,
it is a Bloodborne sequel.
Yeah, it is. It's I feel like there was an era for a while in video games where a company wouldn't make the sequel to the thing everyone wanted to make, so another company would make it, right? It's how we got Yooka-Laylee. It's how we got Mighty Number 9, which wasn't good. It's how we got what was the Castlevania like? Not just Blasphemous, but the other one.
Nacho's Blasphemous.
Nacho's Blasphemous.
Circle of Blood or something?
No, Ritual of the Night? No.
Symphony of the
Symphony
Circles?
of...
No, what?
Ritual of the Symphonies.
It's the one that was Kickstarted.
Yes.
Yeah, it was by the original creator.
This feels like one of those, but like on the successful side of things, right? This is not Bloodborne's Mighty Number 9. This is Bloodborne 1.5. Almost Bloodborne 2. Bloodstained.
Yes. Okay, I figured I remembered it. All right,
there we go. The whole thing on Twitter where people are like, did they make sexy Geppetto?
Yeah.
Like people are like, that's a handsome ass Geppetto.
That's exactly what my fiance said.
Yeah.
She was watching me play it, and she was like, I would... Yeah, she's pretty good.
Geppetto's the hall pass.
Geppetto's the hall pass.
Chris Person, formerly of Kotaku on Twitter, he remarked that it was from South Korea, and somebody was like, "Oh, I'm surprised. I thought it was Western releasing it." He goes, "The West does not have the technology to make this effable." It's just like, I keep thinking, just like, yeah, that's a sexy Geppetto, just very
sexy Geppetto.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the feel. This is the section called the feel. Which sort of encompasses mechanics and controls and combat. This game fucking kicks ass combat-wise. Holy shit, this game rocks ass. And it's one of those that, like, when I played the demo, I didn't need to play more. I was like, I'll wait till this game comes out. I can tell this game's gonna be a fucking banger, right? Like, if you can bring me this quality of boss fight interaction with different phases, knowing what I'm going to be capable of combat wise. Essentially, like Blessing was mentioning, it's a Souls game through and through. I think it plays a lot like Sekiro. You could still dodge through attacks. You still have your invincibility frames. You see that big old swipe coming, and if you time that correctly, now be careful because that dude loads up his swipe attack for at least a minute.
Yeah, no, there's like 10 extra frames that you did not account for in there.
These dudes take forever.
My favorite is like when an enemy loads up like a swipe attack, and I'm like, oh, I'm about to parry the shit out of this, and I hit the parry like 2 seconds too early, and then I'm like, oh, I have enough time here that I can just dodge, or I can just try to parry.
I
again.
check Instagram, like I get on my phone.
I'm looking at my notifications, like, oh man, when are you gonna swipe, my guy?
It's wild. But essentially the way this game works is it kind of melds a lot of the best parts of a lot of different FromSoft games.
And it melds like a lot of my favorite parts too. Is the thing. Again, like I absolutely adore this game. I think it's up there with the best games of the year for me. I'm so curious to see if other people agree, right? Like I don't know what anybody else is giving this game. I don't know what reviews look like, right? But like playing this game, I'm blown away by it. I think it'll probably be in like my top 5 maybe in like a year that's already stacked. We'll see when Spider-Man 2 comes out, you know what I mean? Like it's tough to figure out what top 5 is, but dude, it's incredible.
It's already seeming like the biggest surprise of the year, for me at least, where again, we see a lot of these games come and go. We see a lot of games with big promises and never quite deliver, but this one is seeming like it might play.
The fact that I'm playing this game post Elden Ring and I'm in love with it, I think speaks volumes to like how good it is. Like again, it's tough to, and I don't want to get into this whole thing and like just compare it, even though I've compared it a lot already to Soul stuff, right? Like, you know, I don't know if people are gonna like this as much as Bloodborne. I think there are plenty of things that Bloodborne does better. I think there are some things that this game does better.
Look, on their website, they say this game is a Soul-style game. Like,
exactly.
There's no way you can disconnect the two. Like, it is very, very much part of that DNA.
But the thing that impresses me the most is that not only do these guys get it, but they injected enough originality into it where I'm like, oh, okay, this is its own thing, and this thing is a game that stands on its own 2 legs and has something to say and has something here that makes it worthwhile to play even outside of the other games that have come before it. And so yeah, I think this game is up there for me, and I absolutely adore it.
Travis, this is one thing you really like. You can collect records because there are items and
so
music is really good.
The music is so good in this game.
It's awesome.
To the point where I usually, so when you're working on a review, you usually have to turn the in-game music off to record footage, because when they put the video together, if there's music on it, it interferes with the music that the video plays throughout the review, and so you have to turn it off. But this game, I was just like, I'm gonna record all my footage later. The music is quite good. It does have long sections with no music, which I actually kind of liked aesthetically, because it kind of just focuses you in, and then when the music comes up, you're like, oh dang. But you collect records. I still have not found a ton of the records, which is weird.
It is
because
weird.
I've done so much of the game, and I'm on my second playthrough, and I'm still missing a bunch. I'm like, why am I missing so many records?
I think I only have like 5 or 6 out of like 30, and I'm like 99% wooded through. The game.
That's where you do find a couple at the end, but like I'm spending a lot of my time trying to get those records because they're worth it. I definitely want to buy this OST. And they give you in-game benefits to listening to the music too. Because there's a whole like, is your character going to be more robotic, or is he going to be a real boy? There's like that decision tree. And listening to music is one of the things that makes you more human. And so when you're deciding if you want to be a real boy or not, if you want to be a real boy, listen to the records.
All right.
Do a good job.
And finally, one thing, to call this out, this might be the first Souls-like with a legitimately good story. Excluding the Star Wars ones, which is...
the Star Wars ones are
they
better.
Have a lot to build on, though.
Yeah, they have a lot to build on, and it's very clearly like they borrow a lot from the universe and stuff. This has a lot working against it. It's based off of a Pinocchio book that is very bizarre. Just my reading of that book was, I was just like, dude, I don't get this book at all. This is super, super weird.
So, to be clear, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, and stuff like that, they have lore.
They have lore,
right? Which is it's different than story. Like there's a lot of overlap there, but lore is a lot of like, you know, this is kind of in the back pocket and stuff like that, and you're digging around for it, and it's very rewarding once you find it and you look into it.
If you have to watch a YouTube video to understand it, it's not a story. That's the way I think. That's lore.
I like that.
So and this one, you don't need the YouTube video. Like they do enough exposition, and they smartly do some of it during boss fights. They know that you're going to lose a lot. So that you have to hear it again, and then eventually you go, oh yeah, I do remember that, because it wasn't one line of dialogue. It was said to me 5 times, because I died 5 times on that boss. I think that's really smart. And then by the end of the game, you're like, okay, that story made sense. I understand every part of it. I didn't have to look anything up. I didn't have to read any item descriptions. And the story they told, pretty good. That's honestly pretty good. I was surprised.
Really cool.
So anyway, dude, Travis, thank you so much for hopping on and talking about this game. Everybody, please go watch, listen to, read whatever Travis's review. And I think we can say we recommend Lies of P. In all honesty.
Great.
Where can people find you?
And I'm just happy that Lies of P actually delivered. When I first saw that initial trailer and people were like, haha, they're making a dark and gritty like Dark Souls Pinocchio. Everybody laughed, and I was like, yes, that is what I need. And I'm glad that they nailed it. It's out. It's going to be on like Game Pass. It'll probably end up on PlayStation Plus at some point. So hopefully a bunch of people can jump in and try it. But again, the fact that they had a demo is good. I know not everybody likes these types of games, and I get it. I get it more than most people, because for the longest time I was a hater. And even still, I'm kind of burnt on these. And sometimes I just want a game that doesn't try and cripple my life and my mental state. But with Lies of P, the big through line is that the best thing about it is the presentation, the atmosphere, the sound, the visuals, the beautifully rendered environments, the design of it all, and how I felt encouraged to push through, not because I wanted to win, but because I wanted to see what they had cooked up next. That's good. I like that. So I'm really excited to see what they do next. I really hope they make a Lies of P2. P2? I don't know what they would call it. But yeah, the studio is Round 8. The publisher is NeoWiz. So I'm excited to see what else they could possibly have.